Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC regarding the virus and steps communities can take to prevent the spread. The town hall is closed to the public. This meeting will be broadcast live, local access cable, on the Acton TV channel or streamlining online at the ActonTV YouTube live channel. And audio will be broadcast live on the radio at WAEM 94.9 FM. To participate remotely from a computer, please click on the link below to join the public meeting webinar at https://zoom.us/j/503-918-785, or from a telephone dial 646-876-9923 and enter webinar ID 503-918-785. Telephone users may dial *9 to request to speak after joining the meeting. Computer and app users may use the raise hand feature to request to speak. Okay. Are there any citizens, David?
There are two. Will the person whose phone number ends in 9542, I'm going to allow you to speak. Please identify yourself and your street.
Hi, I'm that person. I'm Louise Gerhardt, and I would like to speak very briefly at the appropriate time on the continuance for the special permit hearing at 8 Post Office Square that's on your agenda.
Oh, okay. We'll call on you then. Can you just tell me your name again?
Louise Gerhardt.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'll call on you again at that time.
Is there someone else?
There's one more, yes.
Hi, it's Tara Fredericks from West Acton. Thank you very much.
You're muted, Tara.
I'll get her.
Muted me.
There you go, Tara.
Hi,
Sorry.
Tara. I didn't mute me. Thank you. Yes, I want to thank everybody who worked on my campaign. Whether win or lose, I think that we all learned a lot. I'm concerned about the town meeting, and I hope that you find an outdoor venue like Maynard has. They're planning a drive-in town meeting. You know, someplace that doesn't have mosquito spray. It's very toxic, especially people with breathing problems during this COVID pandemic. And they're, either way, I ask that you put all items that aren't budget items after the budget items, not to try and put things before for political reasons, but to just put them all after the budget. We'll get the budget passed and then deal with the other stuff. And then I want to speak in favor of the grant program. I don't think I need to speak then, unless, of course, you change the program considerably, of which I hope you post it on DocuShare and then let us comment. Thank you.
Hey, anyone else?
Yeah, that's all, John.
Okay. Town manager update?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. As I do every week, I'll give several updates on what's happening with COVID-19 and other things that we're trying to do operationally. I wanted to actually take a minute first to just mention something that's been going on, the tragic death of George Floyd in Minnesota. Like countless others, I was horrified by the senseless killing of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police. And in speaking with Chief Burrows about that incident, he echoes my concerns. And we're working together on some type of statement about the tragedy, and hope to have that out tomorrow. In the meantime, I just want to say that I join with all those who've demonstrated peacefully throughout the country in calling for justice for Mr. Floyd. And I hope that we can take steps in our community to help create lasting change. I know it's an issue we've been talking about in some ways recently, and I think it's something that we're always endeavoring to do better on. So back to regular updates. We've got a lot of information from the state today. The governor made some announcements. The restaurants will be open for outside dining starting next Monday. They also announced that camps and daycares, which is something we've been really waiting for, they announced that that would be open as part of phase 2, which they didn't give a date, but that could be as soon as next Monday. So we're really working hard to try to figure out how to make that work for our community and what that means for our community. Another item is that I'm pleased to announce that we're collaborating with the town of Boxborough to do a mask distribution this Saturday. This Saturday at the Boxborough Regency from 9 a.m. to 12 noon on Saturday in the parking lot outside the Regency. There will be a drive-up contactless situation where you can just drive up and say you're from Acton or Boxborough, and they'll say how many masks you need and try to be reasonable. I think they're trying to limit it to a handful or so per person, and they'll be distributing those. These are rectangular masks with bands that go behind your ears. So they're not the N95s that we're saving for public safety, but they are masks that we think a lot of people would benefit from having. So if you're interested, drive over there at 9 a.m. to noon on Saturday. And if there's any questions, let us know. There's other announcements about COVID response that I can just talk about more later related to the business grant program, but I did want to mention, since it's not on the agenda, the rental assistance program that we announced on Friday would be open starting today. And it'll run for a few weeks, and then they'll do a lottery to select the people that are eligible to get the assistance with our housing assistance or rental assistance. We've already received 25 inquiries already. It's not even, the day's not even over. So it's certainly something that people found out about, and we're pleased about that, and we hope that it'll help a lot of people out. So, and I'll talk more about the business grants at that portion of the program today.
John, do you want to say something about tomorrow, the junior high?
So tomorrow is the town election. The town election will be held. I think the polls are open 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Everybody's voting at RJ Gray tomorrow. If you normally go to another precinct, we're not doing that tomorrow. Everybody votes at RJ Gray, which is on Charter Road, and it's an election for our local election. It's also a special state election to fill the seat that was vacated when Representative Benson resigned a few months ago, and that'll be tomorrow. We're taking several precautions to try to make sure people are safe. We will have masks available if people forget them. We're encouraging everybody to bring your own pen to mark the ballot so that you don't have to use one of ours. You can just take it with you and not have to worry about that. Hopefully it'll be a nice warm day, and people can wait outside as they're waiting to go into the polling place. And any questions, I'll be there at some point in the afternoon, so hope to see you there.
A question?
John?
John, do you know how many early ballots have been received?
I'm sorry, I don't have that update as of right
now. Okay. Joan, one administrative detail.
Okay.
Right. We're scheduled to meet 2 weeks from tonight. We were put back in our regular first and third Monday cycle. Since March, we've been meeting weekly, and I would think at least through town meeting, we should continue to meet weekly because there's obviously work to do. Board of Health is scheduled to meet on Monday the 8th and Monday the 15th at 7:30. So I was wondering if, in keeping with Monday nights, if we might meet at 5 or 5:30 on the 8th and the 22nd.
That's all right. How do the other members of the board feel about that?
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay with me. Justin, we're getting some spam here that we need to
Yeah,
get rid of.
he's already killed one person, but he'll get them. John, what day did you suggest?
Yeah,
I'm sorry to interrupt. Can we just close? Can we disable the chat function, please, Justin? We're not going to be able to use that today. So, sorry to interrupt.
Sure. Thank you for that, John.
Okay,
We're plugged into me tonight at 7 and Monday the 15th at 7. If we could meet at 5 o'clock on Monday, or 5 or 5:30 on Monday the 8th, and 5 or 5:30 on Monday the 22nd.
all right, comments?
I think it'd be a good idea, particularly to get more information about how these new programs that we're rolling out are working.
Okay. Dean,
Yeah, that's fine with me.
how about you?
Yep, okay for me too.
Okay, John, can you make the necessary scheduling?
Yeah, sorry, I'm a little distracted.
Yeah.
Hopefully Lisa wrote that stuff down, and we'll take care of it.
Okay,
I'll drop her a note.
okay. I gotta bring up the.
I believe we have a public hearing that's been continued. Can I address
Yes,
that?
yeah, okay, so this is public hearing 10/28/19-475, 8 Post Office Square. The applicant has requested to reschedule to July 20th, 2020 at 7:10.
Okay, and so I have a comment on that from staff.
Yeah,
So I got a memo that says this site plan was originally scheduled for December of 2019, and it's been requested for continuance 5 times. This latest continuance will be 7 months past the originally scheduled public hearing date, and they recommend that the board not grant any further continuations beyond this one to July.
okay. Peter?
Is the storage facilities they're building down there?
I believe it's related to, Robert, are you on here?
I think the condos are built, aren't they?
It's not the condos.
Okay.
I can follow up with you before July, but it's not.
Dean?
I believe that's in regard to putting in solar panels and reconfiguring the parking lot beyond the building. And I think there was some issues with lot lines and setbacks that's delayed a lot of this. I know we've got an abutter that has an interest in it that's waiting to speak.
Okay. Can we recognize that abutter? Was that Louise?
David, you had that one.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm doing it. Just one more second. Okay, Louise, you're unmuted.
Can I clarify? The Bowler Engineering and Associated Environmental Systems filed an application in October for expanded parking at 8 and 10 Post Office Square, which would create an additional 93 parking spaces and approximately 25,000 square feet of pavement. That's what they're talking about. That's the proposal. The proposal violates a deed restriction on the property. And they were informed of that by Tom Tidman back in early November. They've known about that deed restriction. Despite knowing that the parking can't be built as designed, the applicant has now let it sit for 8 months while requesting continuances at least 6 times, maybe 7 times, without any further progress. So I met with the applicant in February, and I contacted him again last week, and he said he no longer wishes to pursue the extended parking, but he has asked Bowler to investigate unidentified alternatives for developing the site. So, you know, allowing the continuance, in my opinion, is a waste of the board's time and the town's resources, and the neighboring residential abutters are continually checking the town's website for a new filing. And so if the applicant intends to propose an alternative for the use of the site, he should withdraw the application, refile a new application if and when he is ready. It's been really burdensome. So I hope that clarifies a bit.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
There are two other people with raised hands. The first one is Derek Chen. One second. Derek, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I was having trouble getting on, and it looks like you shut me out. I couldn't get back on, but now I'm back on.
Okay. Do you want to comment on post office?
No, I heard everything.
Oh, okay. And so there's nobody else with their hand up. No.
Okay. So comments, Dean.
Yeah, I tend to agree with the abutter. I can't recall at any time when there's been so many requests for continuances. This thing just seems to be, I don't know, dead in the water, and I don't know why we continue it at all. I'd be in favor of, taking the advice of staff and moving it up one and just say that's it. I don't think we should grant any more continuances beyond tonight. Let them get all this stuff together, and if they have some other idea, they can come back to us with a decent proposal.
Okay. Anyone else? So is there a motion?
Yeah, a move that we continue.
Wait a minute. John wants to speak. John M.?
I just wanted to clarify that the staff recommendation was to continue it any further after July, not to continue it tonight.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't need a motion then. If they ask for another continuance, we will just deny it.
Well, why don't we make it clear this way? Move that we continue site plan special permit hearing with the number to July 20, 2020, period. No further continuances shall be allowed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and David seconds. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
No,
Oh,
I think
Dean has to call
Hey,
the roll.
Mr. Berry,
Aye.
Mr. Benson,
aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Gardner,
Aye.
Mr. Trotter, aye, unanimous.
Okay. Update and discussions regarding COVID-19. John?
So one item that I would appreciate the board consider as related to this is the CARES Act funding that we talked about, I think at the last meeting or maybe the last two meetings. We need to put in that application on Friday or by this Friday, and a motion of the board would be necessary to authorize the chair to sign that application because of the way the state put it out. It's very prescribed who can actually sign it. Normally I can sign grants and things like that, but in this case, it has to be the chair of the board. So I would appreciate if the board would consider a motion to that effect.
Does it have to be a dollar amount?
I don't believe so. I can give you a general sense of the dollar amounts we're thinking if that's helpful, but I don't think it has to be in the motion.
What would you want what does the state require the motion to say?
Just authorize the chair to submit an application to receive the FY20 allotment of CARES Act funding.
So authorize the chair to submit an application to the Town of Acton to receive.
To submit an application for CARES Act funding for COVID-19 expenses.
Okay.
Okay, Peter?
So is this for the rental assistance and the small business assistance program?
Yeah, so at this point, we have $150,000 that the board already approved from that source. We're also considering, and it's advisable that we put in the 25% of things that FEMA won't cover. So we have about $425,000 of expenses that we're going to put into FEMA, and so we put in for 25% of that as well. So it's around 100 change more in that program.
Is there a second to the motion?
Well, should it? Are they going to? I want to make sure you can go ahead and do it. Should it be we're authorizing the application be submitted to receive CARES funds for the town's residential rental assistance program, the small business grant program, and for what do you call it, FEMA reimbursement?
Other COVID-related eligible.
Okay.
Peter?
So this is the $2 million the town got from the CARES Act. We're designing these programs and asking for the state to approve these expenditures under these designs. Is that it? Because there was a question last time about whether you actually had to say $100,000 or they just approved the program itself and we could add additional funds to it if we wanted to in the future.
Right. So I think it's the way it works is that we can request as much as we think we need right now, and it's a auditing and compliance reporting thing. So if we say we need $1 million, we can ask for it, and if the form has things, we can just put it there, and as long as we report it, we use it all properly, it's fine. But I would rather just ask for what I think we need, which is closer to a smaller amount, $200,000 to $300,000. But I'd rather not have it be defined in the motion, so that we can continue to work.
I wasn't suggesting that. You're saying we have about, I thought you said we had about $450 grand of documented expenses, including these two programs and other expenses in town.
Yes.
25% or whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
It would be 25% of 425. Is that it? On the FEMA related.
Yep. Plus the 2 grant programs and anything else that happens this week.
We'll give you some leeway.
I second the motion.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Will the clerk call the roll?
Actually, before you do that, Derek just raised his hand. I just want to see if he...
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Derek.
John Mangiarati. Is this the thing that you said would be available today between June the 1st and June the 15th?
It's
There's a small business grant program
it's
for up to $4,000.
Yeah, this is the funding that we're going to use to fund that program. But the application will be released tonight. That is the plan. That's what we announced in the press release. Yes.
Oh, a lot of people's been waiting for it, or we couldn't find it.
Yeah, we'll get it out there tonight. We have a list. I look forward to sharing with the board more details on that in the next agenda item.
When you say release it on what? DocuShare?
The people that requested it will get it, and we'll publish it just generally on our website. But we've already had several requests for it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's all, John.
Okay. So, Dean, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Berry,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Mr. Benson,
Aye.
Ms. Gardner,
Aye.
Mr. Trotter, aye, unanimous.
Okay, anything else on that agenda item, John? Peter?
I don't know, do you have something else, John, on the COVID stuff?
No, just that we did a walkthrough this morning, and we have another one planned next week to just continue working on logistics for town meeting. And once the election's over, we're going to go full force into making sure we do that as safely as possible with all the different suggestions that have been brought forward. A lot of great ones that we're going to implement as many as we can.
Okay, I don't know if this is necessarily COVID-19, it's related. We put off the Volunteer of the Year Awards.
Right.
I was going to suggest we do that as part of a meeting before town meeting, so I could be involved. We just do it as part of our Zoom meeting. I would hate to pass up the opportunity to recognize our great volunteers and continue that exercise that we've had over the last few years of making those awards. We could have Lisa get the framed prints and put the certificates together, and we could get them delivered somehow to the people we give those awards out to.
Okay, so that would be June 18th.
So that sounds good.
22nd.
Yeah, our meetings would be why don't we do it on the 22nd? That's the final meeting before town meeting,
Okay,
3 weeks from tonight.
is that agreeable with everybody?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Regional Housing Service Office Intermunicipal Agreement Extension.
Thank you. Yes, this is our agreement that we have with Liz Rust and her team to do our housing services. Due to what's happening, we weren't able to renew the contract for a proper renewal, so all the managers that are involved thought it would be best to just execute a 3-month extension to allow things to settle down a little bit, and we'll work on that for the board later this summer. And so I think I provided what the amendment looks like, but it's simply an amendment extending the contract for 3 months.
Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to extend the Regional Housing Service Organization contract for an additional 3 months.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
So this is just the same numbers. It's going to be like a 112 per month.
It's based on the financials in place, and it would be funded through the way it's normally funded, which is through CPA funds if that's approved at town meeting. And if it isn't, we will figure out what to do.
Okay. Okay. This is on the warrant of the CPA allocations.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Dean, will you call the roll?
Mr. Benson,
Aye.
Mr. Berry,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Gardner,
Aye.
Mr. Trotter, aye, unanimous.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
SIF is the Small Business Grant Program.
Yes, so thank you. There are two small business grant programs I wanted to discuss with the board tonight. First of all, the one that we announced on Friday, which the board approved last week, was for $100,000 to distribute to small businesses in the form of grants of up to $4,000 for eligible businesses. Eligible business include those that are less than 35 employees, have business establishments in Acton, have revenue of 1.5 million or less, have suffered a loss due to COVID of 50% of their year-over-year revenue projections, and several other criteria which are in the draft application that we hope to publish later tonight. I did send it to the board on Friday, I think, and I sent a quick update this afternoon with just a couple minor language suggestions from council. And I just wanted to, before we released it tonight, I just wanted to make sure that there was an opportunity for the board to provide any feedback that you had on the application.
Anyone? John?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I was glad to see that the uses of the monies, of the grant monies, were quite broad, and that it did include, if I read it correctly, rents. So yes, let's go forward. And
yeah, the eligible uses are for employee payroll not already paid for by the federal program, loss of inventory, rent, mortgage, or other fixed costs that were impacted by the pandemic.
Peter, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I think you answered my question. We had that question last week where the Paycheck Protection Program allows you to use 25% of that grant for rents. Then the question was, could you use this to supplement that? And it sounds like the answer was yes, I guess.
Yes, the answer is yes, as long as you know, if they owed $1,000 and they use 500 from that program and 500 from this program, it's fine. They just can't use the same $1,000 twice.
That's great.
Anyone else? Okay, is there a motion?
You looking for us to approve this program, or I think
we
we
approved
voted
the
on it
program.
last week, didn't we?
You approved it already. I just wanted to make sure that before we
Okay.
to the public that if there's any concerns you have with the application, that you had a chance to share them before we published it. So I don't hear any, so I'm happy to just publish it tonight. And as I mentioned, or maybe I didn't, we've already had 18 emails asking for the application. And also today we had a intern do cold calling, or I don't know if it's called cold calling, but they've called as many businesses as they could today to let them know about the program. And so we hope to get a good outreach going, in addition to the press release that we issued last week and the notice on our website. We're going to continue to do outreach through our economic development partners, like the Chamber and Economic Development Committee, and anyone else that is interested in helping to get the word out. And applications are due on the 15th.
June 15th?
Yeah, so it's a 2-week period. Get your applications in, and then we hope that we'll have enough funding for everyone, but if not, we will use a lottery system to select from the pool of eligible grant applications. So in other words, if people submit a grant application that doesn't meet their criteria, it wouldn't be in the lottery.
Okay.
Joan, the intern that John's speaking about is a young woman, Emma Kearney, who's an Acton resident, graduated the high school in 2018, and will be entering her junior year at Harvard in September. She's an economics major, and she just sent a letter to the Economic Development Committee saying, you know, my plans have changed for the summer. I'd like to help out in economic development in the town, and we got right in touch with her, and John spoke with her, and she's on board.
Great. Okay, so CDBG-CV grant program?
So that is the second business program that I wanted to talk to the board about tonight. It's a different opportunity, a different pot of money that's from the CARES Act program. The CARES Act provided a lot of aid to Massachusetts, and it's slowly being distributed. This is a separate distribution, and we have to apply for this on a competitive basis to the state. But what it can do for us is it can give us up to $400,000 to help micro enterprises, which they classify as 5 employees or less. And there's other ways that they classify it. But in order to be competitive, because it's a big program with a lot of interest, we have to do it regionally. So we are working with our direct neighbors to try to arrange for a regional application. And I wanted to just make sure that if the board had any questions or concerns about that, you get an opportunity to learn about it. But I think it's going to be competitive, but I think if we put together a good application, it's due next week. It's due June 12th. But one thing we need to do, though, is hold a public hearing before we submit our application. And if we're the lead community, we'd have to hold a public hearing in Acton or in Zoom from Acton Zoom resources. So we would do that next week, and we would advertise it tomorrow or the next day to be able to do that, to be able to accomplish that. So I just want to make sure the board was aware of that, and it's an exciting additional opportunity. It's not as the funding is, it's not as easy to obtain as the CARES Act funding that we just approved, but I think we can make a competitive chance at it and try to help our businesses even more.
It's worth the attempt, John. Anyone else?
There's one member of the public here, John.
Okay.
John Durkin, please go ahead.
Oh, he's here for the time. Oh, sorry.
Yes, we're here. Can you hear us?
Yeah, did you need to speak now?
No, just when we got shut out of the chat with the nasty, we don't see it scheduled on here, and we just were unclear when to speak up.
I see. You just have to follow on to the agenda item.
Okay.
It'll be during town meeting discussion in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. The intermunicipal agreement for Crosstown Connect.
Wait a minute, I had a couple of comments on the topic we were just talking about.
Okay.
I just want to point out a couple of things. The micro enterprise assistance is targeted toward low income businesses. And I asked that question last week about our rental assistance program for businesses, or our business assistance program, or actually the rental assistance program. It's up to 100% of median, so it's more moderate income than low income. I think Liz had mentioned this RAFT program that they're talking about running this money through, kind of, which I wasn't familiar with before, but that is targeted toward lower income households, as opposed 50% of median income, as opposed to 100% of median income, which I think is a really good thing. And also, there's another thing I hear about social services. Is that part of your plan too, to apply for money for? This is basically nonprofit entities, which I've been concerned about. I mean, there may be domestic violence abuse, small programs in town, or substance abuse counseling programs that may need assistance just as much as commercial enterprises. So is that part of your plan also, John?
Yeah, so we're looking at that. Up to the 400,000 would include anything you do for businesses and for the social services. So I think as part of our regional conversation that we're going to have, and we're starting to have tomorrow and today, we're going to see whether we can put together a compelling application for that part of the program. I think the most straightforward one is the smaller business, but I think that's a good additional one to include as well. We certainly have a lot of great social organizations in town that may need help.
Yeah, okay, I would be in favor of that. So thank you.
Thanks.
So do you want us to make a motion on this, John, or just go ahead?
No, just I guess I didn't, as I mentioned earlier, I was distracted when you were reading off the next meeting dates, but if the next meeting is a date that we could hold that public hearing during, that would be great. If not, we can schedule it for a different night. We'd have to do it before the 11th.
Okay,
The next meeting would be the 8th.
Okay, so I don't know if we can pull it off by then, but thank you. If that works for you, I appreciate the board's doing that. If not, we can hold it on another night.
okay. Now, Crosstown Connect, the intermunicipal agreement.
I just wanted to bring this to the board's attention. I know this is a project that we've been involved with in the community since the beginning. We are the lead community with the fiscal agent for Crosstown Connect. Going through some transitions. A big transition was when Doug retired, and I think other transitions have been happening. A lot of turnover in the management of each of the communities that participate. And I think we just wanted to bring the board up to speed. I don't have a full update for you tonight, but there was an update meeting last week where they talked about what the future of Crosstown Connect looks like and whether or not we want to keep it exactly the way it has been or if we have some changes in mind. So I guess one thing I want to know is there a select board member that is appointed to be the lead on that? I'm not sure if there is.
Does this come under the Transportation Committee?
Well, they are a big part of it, but it's, I didn't know if there was a board member that was particularly interested in it or actually assigned to it to help work through this with me.
Well, I'm the Transportation Committee person,
Okay.
so I can do it.
Okay. Great. So I can spend some time with you to let you know what happened last week. But generally, we're looking at whether or not continuing doing dispatch the way we have makes sense, or if we should look at an alternative service delivery model. And we have a few ideas on how to do that. They're just not ready to be announced. So
Okay.
just wanted to give the board that brief update, even though it's not very detailed.
Okay, thank you.
Joan,
Peter?
I just have a question about how they're set up. It's a private corporation, Crosstown Connect. I know they're over in the Maynard Clock Tower, but we contract, or various towns contract with this private corporation. Is it a nonprofit? Do they have a board themselves? I guess none of the towns appoint members of their board. I think it's been Franny pretty much.
Well, in the IMA, it's actually the town manager for Acton. I'm not sure if it's every town, and Franny's been obviously a big part of it from the beginning. Whether or not she's been officially appointed or not, she's been a leading person in that. But there's a lot of things that I think have happened in the past that aren't necessarily happening now, and that's partly why we want to have the conversation. The place in Maynard isn't really used that often. Most of the operations are actually out of Woburn now, which that's why we're thinking maybe there's another way we can do it. So we're going to continue to look at that.
Good.
And the cat, our beloved cat, is something that is going to be difficult to keep in service when we come out of this situation. It's been out of service because of this pandemic, but it may be difficult to bring back given the budget concerns and trying to keep that enterprise low. So that's another concern, but I'll continue to keep the board updated over the next few weeks on this.
Okay, great. Now, the reserve commuter parking lot rate modification. We need to approve that?
Yes, a few months ago, the board took a vote to provide some relief to those parkers who weren't able to park because they couldn't go to work anyways. And I think what we're asking for you to do tonight is a follow-up action.
So your proposal is what?
David?
Oh, go ahead.
I think the proposal is right to have half price reserved parking spaces. So I think for the past 2 or 3 months, we didn't charge them at all.
Yes.
And they could keep their place. And now we're proposing to have them pay half price to keep their space. I think they always have the option of forfeiting their space in any month they want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But this allows them to keep their space at half price, which seems to me to be quite reasonable.
Any other thoughts, Peter?
We do have a document that's attached to the agenda. And it looks like something that's been going out to the people who have been renting spaces. It's a little confusing. It says in the last paragraph, invoices for March, April, and May will be mailed out within the next 2 weeks. I don't know if that was just a mistake, but I understood what David just said is we waived any fees for March, April, and May, I thought.
We did. Yep, we can clean that up.
Okay.
So what we're talking about is, for June going forward, it would be 50% of the normal monthly charge.
Until we get into phase 3 of the governor's reopening plan, at which point we would go back to normal.
And when will phase 3 of the governor's reopening plan trigger?
Well, we're hearing that phase 2 could be as soon as the next week to 10 days. But I don't know that there's a time frame associated with phase 3 at this point.
So roughly, I think people were thinking that phase 3 would start sometime in July, but of course that's based on the metrics of the disease. But I think that's a good idea. I would propose that we go back to full price at the beginning of the month following phase 3 start. So let's just say phase 3 starts on July 15th, then we would start full price on August 1st. That would be my proposal.
Okay, any other comments? So do we have a motion?
Do we need a motion?
Please.
Yes.
So before I make the motion, John, do we need it to start on June 1st? Because I think we did through the end of May. Is that right? Or are we starting? Are we keep? I would move that we charge 50% of the normal reserved parking space price in the commuter parking lots starting today, June 1st, through the beginning of the month following the governor's phase 3 reopening step.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
No.
Okay, Dean seconds. Any further discussion? Dean, will you call the roll?
Mr. Berry.
Aye.
Mr. Benson. Mr. Martin.
Aye.
Ms. Gardner.
Aye.
Mr. Trotter. Aye. Unanimous.
All right, thank you. Now we move to the June 29th annual town meeting warrant.
Yes, thank you. So I believe there was an updated draft of the warrant in the packet. It's still being developed. We hope to have it in pretty good shape before the Finance Committee meeting on Wednesday. But one thing the board asked me to do last week was to check in with the petitioners or the sponsors of the citizen petition articles to see what they wanted to do. And I presented them with the option of postponing the discussion of their article and having the board commit to placing on the very next warrant, or going forward and trying to be brief. And both petitioners chose to move forward at this town meeting. I did explain to both that there's going to be a real different tone to this town meeting, and maybe as it has been in other ones. Actually, Mr. Durkin is one of the sponsors, and he's available tonight. I asked him actually to come and just talk a little bit to the board about what he's thinking for his article, which I believe was
number 10, I think.
number 10.
If I'm not mistaken. But Joan, can I allow the Durkins to speak?
Please.
Mr. Durkin, you out there?
Yeah, actually, for some reason, it's not unmuting for me.
He's still on my screen.
I'm trying.
Oh, there you go.
There he is.
Yep, is that better?
Yes.
Yeah.
No grandiose plans. I'm requesting a zoning change regarding Weatherby Street and 30 and 32 Weatherby Street with the commercial building that exists. It's all zoned residential today. I guess that's basically it in a nutshell, to be honest with you. I'm not sure what I'm allowed to do. The zoning that's there is strictly residential, obviously. EAV2 was what I was hoping for at a minimum. I don't have any irons in the fire, nor do I have a big plan for the parcel. I'm just reaching out, trying to converse with whoever I can. I have a verbal meeting with Tom Tidman. Maybe there's some use relative to the bike trail. I've got MIG Corporation is interested in using some of the land to build this bridge that's going over Route 2. I've agreed to that. I'm looking for some input, I guess. I guess that's the extent of it, to be honest with you.
Okay. Peter?
Did you say you owned a commercial building on the other side of the rail trail there that's in the EAV2 district?
Yes, we do now.
Okay, is there anything on this site at all? This is just vacant land now?
No, there's a commercial building on the property we just purchased, which abuts the rail trail as well. It's on the other side of the rail trail.
Yeah, I could see your map. I assume that must have been a different zoning when they built the commercial building, I guess. But, okay.
Well, the commercial building, which one are we talking about? At 30 or 18?
I thought it looks like 32 on your map here.
Yeah, 32 is a residence. I understand 30 is the commercial building. I thought it was one parcel, which I believe is true. I'm not sure why the mailing address is different, but I'm not sure if you're looking at the aerial view of it now.
Yeah, you got a map attached here. I must be from the town's GIS, I guess.
Yeah, it could be. I've had some interest from Teamworks to expanding their facility.
Yeah.
It's all just conversation for right now, for the most part.
Okay, thank you.
Anything I can?
Anyone
anything I
else?
can do?
David?
So I just wanted to clarify, Mr. Durkin, you're just looking for, you don't have a plan for the land, you're just looking for some more flexibility in the zoning.
For the most part, correct.
Yeah, so what I would recommend is that you work with someone to produce a little presentation. You'll need a 2/3 vote at town meeting, even if it's just a 2-slide presentation. And you need to make it available to residents before town meeting, because we're not going to have, there'll be a period of questions, but there won't be a long period of presentation at town meeting. So you'll need something to defend what you're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, I'm not trying to waste your time. I have reached out to Tom Tidman. He's going to give me some input as soon as he gets a minute. It's just it's a piece of real estate in progress, I guess.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dean?
Yeah, I think that, he should go ahead with bringing this to town meeting. It's an existing industrial building that Moritz owned for years. Frankly, I wasn't aware that it was even in a residential district. It would seem to me that it's pretty non-controversial, and it's something that we should be supporting.
Anybody else? John?
I would just say that I don't think the board took a position on this initially, and I think we do have an opportunity for it to do so before we print the warrant, at your next meeting, after your next meeting. I think we have to go to print on in the early teens of June. So you would have the opportunity either tonight or next week to consider this article. And I guess I would just suggest that if there's any questions or further questions for Mr. Durkin while we have them, that they were asked tonight, just so the board has an opportunity to know exactly what they may be considering.
Joan, also 2 people have their hands raised.
Okay, let's hear. Can you recognize them?
Yeah, Barry Rosen, please go ahead.
Hi.
Barry, go ahead.
First of all, David, I apologize. I saw you send a note to me and I couldn't get back because the chat has been disabled.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's why you didn't hear back from me during this meeting. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we had for a few minutes.
I saw the Zoom bombing. I was trying to send to somebody, we better get rid of this dude. The other thing I want to suggest to the selectmen is, we've used it, but it doesn't always work, that you don't continue to use the same meeting ID which you have for successive meetings, because it gets around, and Zoom bombers like that get your meeting ID and they will use it. Change your meeting ID, which Zoom will do for you automatically. Change your meeting ID for each meeting and just put it in the selectmen's agenda that you send out. That doesn't guarantee it won't happen, but it should cut down the number of people who see that meeting ID number, knowing, of course, it's got to be public, but it cuts down the number of people. The only way we found to cut it down, if you want to, is use the waiting room, but that requires somebody to monitor each person who wants to get into the meeting.
Thank you.
And I have one more thing, Joan, I'm sorry.
Okay.
One thing, kind of unrelated, but I didn't know where to squeak it in. Just as an FYI to the selectmen, that the Board of Water Commissioners has set the meeting date for a special meeting to run concurrently, or one after the other actually, with the annual meeting for the same date as your next meeting, which is the 8th of June. At the special meeting begins at 6:30 p.m. And the special meetings can request an additional almost $3.2 million for a bid cost overrun to build the new water treatment plant in West Acton Center on the former Conant property that was purchased. And I don't know if you want to consider adjusting your meeting time or date.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
And there's one more, Joan.
Okay.
Go ahead,
yes,
Joan.
Mr. Chair. Yes. So I have a question about the proposed 32 Weatherby rezoning article. And I was told that the applicant doesn't intend to build housing, but I would like to know how many units would be allowed under zoning, and if the applicant would be willing to sign an agreement to say that the land wouldn't be used for that unless it was for, public necessity housing, for very low-income housing. But I think it's important for voters to understand what would be allowed under zoning, at least at the Board of Selectmen, when they decide whether they're recommending or not. And I think it's important to understand how many units could go there, because when I looked at the lot, it's an odd-shaped lot, but it looked like, given that you can put, that we've approved, the town has approved 30 units on 0.9 acres at 446 Mass Ave, and I think that there's 2 or 3 acres in this particular proposed parcel. I think it's important to at least be clear on that. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, David?
No one else, Joe.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Durkin?
I have one last question. Why is Tom Tidman involved in this? Is there wetlands on the site or something, Mr. Durkin?
Well, not on the site, not today, no. I just looking for some input. I thought he might be a good resource to reach out to and help direct. I don't have a wetlands issue at all. Tom happens to be a friend of ours, and not trying to make an end around of it all, but just trying to do the right thing once, if that's possible.
Okay. All right. Shall we move on to the consent items?
Just in terms of process, we would have to finalize the warrant at our meeting on the 8th, because John, it's got to it formally closes on the 12th. Is that it?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you want to take the time now to go through who will be presenting articles, or who is responsible for articles? There's 20 consent articles. I think, Joan, you've taken most of them. You want to split them up in any way so others can help? I mean, they'll only, be called upon if they're taken off consent, but you do have to be prepared on them.
I thought we had assigned all the articles previously. Is that right, John?
Well, the assignments are listed in the warrant, the draft warrant that was in the packet, but those were assigned, a few months ago. But we certainly could revisit any ones that people want to revisit.
John P.
Yeah, John Mangiarotti, I'm good with the assignments that I've been given. I'd like to be able to get together with you and perhaps some town staff just to go over a couple of items, so I'll have a little more detail, especially as far as the infrastructure program that you're proposing and the sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
So probably between now and our next meeting, we could set aside a little time for a conference call. That would be great. I've already started writing up some of the remarks I'll have ready.
Great. Yeah, well, and we'll have to be prepared for the moderators meeting, which is going to be scheduled soon. We'll announce that hopefully by the end of the week, but it should be, later this month before town meeting.
Okay.
David?
Yeah, Joan, I was just wondering if you would like me to present the operating budget article. So I've been attending the meetings with the FinCom, and I think some questions may come up, but whatever you want to do is fine.
All right, I'll talk with John.
That's fine. And John Mangiarotti can let me know.
Yep. Anyone else? Okay, consent items. 11, approve meeting minutes, May 4th, 2020. 12, accept gifts, Council on Aging from Almeida and Carlson Insurance for $100 to the Council on Aging Gift Fund. 13, accept gift, Council on Aging from Paula and John Moravito in memory of Angeline Kahn in the amount of $50 to the Council on Aging gift account. And 14 is accept gift, Council on Aging from Dorothy Holtzman for Anthony Carbone, Tim Carbone, and Pete Carbone in memory of Angeline Kahn, the amount of $200 to the Council on Aging gift account. Is there a motion?
So moved. I'll move that we accept consent items 11 through 14.
Is there a second?
Second.
Dean, do you want to call the roll?
Mr. Barry?
Aye.
Mr. Benson?
Aye.
Mr. Martin?
Aye.
Ms. Gardner?
Aye.
Mr. Trotter? Aye. Unanimous.
Motion carries. Thank you. John, is there anything else?
No, thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? No. Dean, please call the roll.
Mr. Barry?
Aye.
Mr. Benson,
Aye.
Mr. Martin,
Aye.
Ms. Gardner,
Aye.
Mr. Trotter, aye, unanimous.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening. Good luck tomorrow, Jim.
Okay.